On behalf of the PFL, Jake Paul announced the eagerly awaited heavyweight bout between the former UFC champion Francis Ngannou and the 2023 PFL season champion Renan Ferreira. And all the pressure is on Ngannou, who left the UFC in search of bigger and better things.
Yeah, look, he has a lot to prove, right? The pressure's on him. You know, he came from the UFC, now in this massive, massive fight against an amazing competitor who has amazing power, amazing speed, is obviously 6'8", 85-inch reach. So I'm excited for this.
After claiming the UFC heavyweight title in his rematch with Stipe Miocic, and then defending the belt against the interim champion Cyril Gane, Ngannou left the promotion after ongoing pay disputes. In sad news for MMA fans, Ngannou transitioned to boxing for two massive paydays. First, he lost a surprise split decision to the then champion Tyson Fury, which made everyone think the move to boxing might be permanent. That was until he fought the former two-time champ Anthony Joshua, who sat Ngannou down multiple times before knocking him all the way back to MMA.
You know, my goal right now is not just about like being back in MMA, it's about being back in activity, in combat sport in general. It's being back in what I love.
For his first MMA bout since January of 2022, he faces the massive Brazilian Renan Ferreira. In his last two fights, the reigning PFL champion won the title with a second-round knockout of this year's finalist, Denis Goltsov. Before knocking out the Bellator champion Ryan Bader in the first round. Problema is a real problem for anyone, let alone a man who hasn't fought in the cage for almost 3 years.
I'm gonna say this, like, I wasn't impressed by his knockout, not because he wasn't good, because I knew he was capable of doing that. I've been watching Renan Ferreira because before a lot of people even know who he was, because I was so impressed by his skills, by his ability, and I saw him enter the PFL season, and now I'm like, I put my money on this guy. This is the winner, like.
However, the man most people wanted Ngannou to face was the UFC's heavyweight champ, Jon Jones, who claimed the vacant title after Ngannou left. But that's the man both Ngannou and Paul wanted him to fight, but they blame UFC CEO Dana White for that not happening.
Well, I think Dana's scared to make it happen. You know, I think he doesn't want to lose his horse in Jon Jones, and I love Jon Jones, but that's too much of a risk for Dana to take. Francis is one of the baddest, if not the baddest man on the planet. And so I think Dana's scared. I don't think he would want to do that, but the MMA fans want that. Doesn't everyone want that? But Dana never does anything for the fans.
As far as I'm concerned, Jon didn't want to fight for me, according to them. And so many times that we sit down on the meeting, I'm like, oh, it can happen. Jon doesn't want to fight anymore. You know, like he lives in Albuquerque. He doesn't, he lives his small life. He has a lot of money in his bank account, you know. So I think the guy who controls the narrative can say whatever he wants. But that's just the narrative. I was the one requesting the Jon fight.
Paul was also asked about his MMA debut after he signed with the Professional Fighters League last year. It was assumed the former YouTuber would face the former UFC star Nate Diaz after Paul defeated Diaz by unanimous decision in a boxing bout in August. That fight now seems to have fallen through, so he's been left looking for a new opponent.
We've made offers, you know, Nate Diaz ducked it. It's just about having the right name, and I'm ready. I want an MMA fight. I think it'd be super, super fun. I don't think a boxer in their prime has gone over to MMA. You see a lot of the MMA fighters go into a boxing match like Francis, like McGregor, but I want to be one of the first to go over into MMA and take a massive risk and see my skills, bring out the old wrestling. But I'm down. I just want a big name and a big fight.
Ngannou versus Ferreira for the lineal heavyweight MMA title and the newly announced PFL Heavyweight Superfight Championship is scheduled to go down at PFL Superfight's Battle of the Giants. That will take place this October 19 at the Mayadeen in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. To the UFC, where fight nerds Caio Borralho went to school with the former title challenger Jared Cannonier at UFC on ESPN 62. The Brazilian learned via a unanimous decision win that he's got what it takes to compete with the best, and now he wants to face the very best. Coming into the bout, Borralho was ranked number 12 in the middleweight division, but he went toe-to-toe with the 5th-ranked contender for 5 rounds and wobbled him in the 3rd and dropped him in the 5th to seal the deal. "You know who I want next. I've been calling for it 2 times already," said the Brazilian. "You already beat Sean Strickland. You already beat Israel Adesanya. You already beat all these guys. So Dricus Du Plessis, get your ass over here or in South Africa." As the champ, Du Plessis will have the right to choose who he fights next, but maybe Borralho has a point. In his last 3 fights, DDP has beaten the number 1 ranked contender Strickland, the number 2 ranked contender Adesanya, and the 3rd ranked contender Robert Whittaker, who are all former champions. So perhaps DDP will be after some new blood to fight for his title. Caio Borralho and Jared Cannonier both took home an extra $50K for their fight of the night. Also taking home bonuses were Michael Morales, Gerald Meerschaert for breaking Anderson Silva's record for most middleweight finishes with 12, and Wang Kong in the night's opener. And after PFL 9, 4 more fighters have earned their place in the 2024 season championships. At featherweight, the 2022 champ Brendan Loughnane will face the undefeated Timur Hizrev. At welterweight, it's an all-undefeated Russian affair, with Shamil Musayev taking on Magomed Umalatov. And they're all fighting for $1 million. Brave's Bulgarian debut lived up to all expectations. And in the main event, Mohammed Maalem and Atanas Djambazov put on a show. After 2 rounds of entertainment, the Bulgarian vet found himself so exhausted by the non-stop pressure that the finish presented itself, and Maalem did not let it pass him by. In the co-main, Shivko Stoimanov sought to get a win for the home crowd, but Alex Lahore had other ideas. In the opening round, the Frenchman landed a powerful uppercut that dropped Stoimanov in an instant. The follow-up strikes convinced the ref to wave it off, and Lahore was awarded his 2nd straight first-round finish with Brave. There were high expectations of the fight between Pavel Vladev and Christian Mark, and they delivered in spades. Vladev went straight after the quick finish and nearly ended it with ground and pound in the first. Mark survived to hear the bell, but it was a rinse and repeat in the second, and Mark didn't get to hear another. Antonio Bushev came looking for a fight, but Hamzat Maev gave him more than he bargained for. Bushev had no opportunity to mount any offense before getting caught in the triangle choke, which was Maev's 5th first-round finish of his professional MMA career. 6-time amateur MMA champion Rusi Minev continued his pro-career dominance by outclassing Christos Siramokos. Over 3 rounds, Minev used his superior grappling to hand the man from Greece his first professional MMA loss. The catchweight bout between Gabriel Gilthon and Edward Evdokimov proved to be a classic grappler versus striker matchup. After 2 rounds of high-energy action, Evdokimov landed a heavy liver kick that he followed up with strikes to get the 3rd round stoppage. And it was up to Anton Yanchev and Patrick Zak to open the night of action in a short and sharp bout. Yanchev delivered a dominant performance, securing a first-round submission victory for his 3rd finish in a row to remain undefeated in the cage.
Thanks for watching. And remember, if you want more fight sports in your life, just hit the subscribe button.